This guy radiates menace. His name is Euron. He's 17 when this kicks off, in high school in Aruba, and everything about his behavior points to someone who can't regulate his anger. One night in 2005, he's out at a local bar when he crosses paths with Natalie. She's 18, visiting Aruba with her classmates on a high school graduation trip. They drink, they flirt, they talk, and at closing, they leave together. Natalie gets into a car with Euron and two of his friends, but instead of her hotel, they go to the beach. The two friends eventually take off, leaving Euron and Natalie alone on the sand. They hang out for a bit, start making out. He gets too handsy, and Natalie tells him to stop. He doesn't. She defends herself and kicks him in the groin. Euron loses control. He grabs her and drives his knee into her face, knocking her out cold. In rage, he snatches up a nearby cinder block and brings it down on her head. That unalives Natalie. After that, he drags her into the ocean and walks home like nothing happened. The next morning is supposed to be the last day of Natalie's trip, the day she flies home. She doesn't show up for her flight. She's reported missing. Police get involved and start piecing together her final hours. They talk to her friends, who bring up Euron because they saw her leave the bar with him. Investigators find Euron and his two friends and question them. All three stick to the same script. They say the group went to the beach to watch sharks, and after that, they dropped Natalie at her hotel. That was the last time they saw her. The story sounds convenient and uncheckable. Meanwhile, news of Natalie's disappearance explodes. It becomes international news, wall to wall in the United States, where she's from. Her parents step into the spotlight, not for fame, but for answers. They leverage the attention to keep the case alive. They go on talk shows. They fly to Aruba. They hand out flyers. They join searches. They speak to anyone who will listen, chasing any lead. But days become weeks, and there's no break. No one knows where Natalie is. Police have no physical evidence against Euron, just a sense he's a shady presence hovering at the edges of this mystery. With nothing to charge, in 2007, the Aruban police closed the case without formally accusing anyone. It feels like a door slamming shut for a family that's already lost so much. Meanwhile, Euron decides he likes the attention, even as a murder suspect in the court of public opinion, and he leans into it. He gives interviews, he teases stories, he writes a book about the case. Then he starts drip-feeding the media sensational confessions that change every time he tells them. In Aruba, only signed, written confessions are admissible, so his spoken claims carry no weight, and police can't act on them. In 2008, a Dutch journalist captures Euron on hidden camera, and Euron says Natalie died of a drug overdose on the beach and that he dumped her body in the ocean, claiming she'll never be found. It sounds like a confession, but it contradicts other things he's said and still doesn't come with proof. Later, he goes on a TV show and backtracks, insisting the entire confession was fake. That same year, he tells a Fox News reporter that he sold Natalie into a sex trafficking ring for $10,000, only to email the network 8 hours later and admit he lied again. Later, he changes the story again, saying he and Natalie were doing cocaine together. She accidentally fell off a balcony and died, and he hid her body in a nearby swamp. He keeps confessing, then retracting, wasting time and drawing attention to himself, all without legal consequences because of how the system works there. Aruban police chase some of these leads anyway, but they find nothing because Euron is a liar. And the real cruelty, beyond wasting investigators' resources, is that he keeps tormenting Natalie's family. Every fake lead gives them a spark of hope that gets snuffed out again and again. It's a deliberate emotional roller coaster built from his ego and appetite for chaos. By around 2010, the glare of the cameras isn't fun anymore. He decides he doesn't like the attention. Instead of blaming himself for stoking it with interviews and bogus confessions, he blames Natalie's family for keeping the story alive. He wants to strike back. He cooks up a plan that's cold and brazen. He's going to scam her parents. He emails the family's attorney and says he'll finally tell the truth and point to where Natalie's remains are if they pay him $250,000. The attorney agrees, $25,000 up front, and the rest if he delivers real information. Euron accepts. They meet in Aruba. The attorney hands Euron $10,000 in cash and wires $15,000 to Euron's account, completing the $25,000 up front. Then Euron spins another story. He says Natalie died after a fight with him, that he threw her to the ground and she hit her head accidentally on a rock, and that he then buried her under a house's foundation. He provides the location of that supposed house, but it's all a lie. The house he names didn't even exist at the time of Natalie's disappearance. As before, he later emails the family's attorney to admit he fabricated it all. He thinks he's gamed the system again, scored money, and kept control of the narrative. What Euron doesn't know is that the FBI is already in the loop. The family's attorney tipped them off well before any payment changed hands. The FBI has probably been orbiting this case for a while. So while Euron thinks he's gaming Natalie's family, federal agents quietly document everything and build a case against him for the scam. They don't make a scene or telegraph their moves. They let him believe he's gotten away with it because they're collecting evidence that holds up in court, not tabloids. But Euron has no idea. He's convinced he's untouchable. He uses the money he squeezed from the family to fly to Peru for a poker tournament. In that poker scene, he meets a 21-year-old local named Stephanie. They strike up a conversation at the casino and later head back to his hotel room. Then Euron steps out to grab some food. When he returns, he finds Stephanie using his laptop, reading articles about how he's connected to Natalie's disappearance. Maybe she recognized him or was curious, but she's looking at information he doesn't want anyone near him to see. Euron flips. He accuses her of invading his privacy. The argument escalates. She slaps him. He drives an elbow into her face, and she goes unconscious. Instead of getting help, he makes a choice. He takes off his shirt and uses it to suffocate her. That unalives Stephanie. He steals her money, her credit cards, and her van, and bolts, fleeing Peru to Chile. A few days later, police track him down. He gets arrested. This time, there's no story that erases the evidence. He's prosecuted in Peru for what he did to Stephanie, and he gets 28 years in prison. While he's serving time, he gets caught trafficking cocaine inside the prison system, and they tack on another 18 years. That same year, he gets extradited to the United States to face charges for the money scam he ran on Natalie's family years earlier. In the US, he gets 20 years for that scheme. And yet, there's a bitter coda. Despite everything he's said and done, authorities can't ultimately charge him for Natalie's murder in Aruba, because by the time all of this plays out, the statute of limitations has expired. It closed before there was enough to meet the burden in that jurisdiction. So the person at the center of the chaos he created in 2005 remains, in that specific sense, beyond the reach of prosecution for Natalie. When you look back at the arc of this story, what stands out is the consistency of the cruelty. From the first moment, he refused to take no for an answer, to the way he weaponized the media with fake confessions, to the scam that extracted money from parents living a nightmare. It's all a pattern. Lies, provocation, manipulation, and then cold violence when he thinks control is slipping. He thrives on attention until it stops working for him, then blames the victims of his own behavior. And through it all, families are left with grief and a string of almost answers that lead nowhere. It's impossible not to think of Stephanie, a 21-year-old who did nothing but walk into the orbit of someone who treated other people as disposable. The sentences he received for what happened in Peru and for the fraud in the US don't rewrite what's been lost. They don't fill the silence where the truth about Natalie should be, but they do put limits on him for a long time, and that matters. That's the story. A teenager in Aruba in 2005, a night out, a life-ending act of violence on a beach, a missing person case that becomes a global headline, a suspect who feeds on notoriety, a storm of contradictory confessions, a calculated scam against a devastated family, another woman unalived in Peru, a cross-border flight, arrests, and finally a stack of sentences. And then, at the end, the reminder that the law doesn't always align with the scale of what people have suffered, because time ran out on one of the charges that should have been pursued. It's infuriating, and it underlines how much damage one person can do when the only thing they care about is themselves. If you found this breakdown compelling and want more stories told like this, like and subscribe. We'll keep bringing you more videos like this.